Hello composers, Mike here. In this video I'm going to show you 7 tips on using solo and mute for your music production workflow in Logic Pro X. Let's start right now. I will also give you a bonus tip in the end of this video. Tip 1. Solo toggle button. So of course you already know that you can solo tracks by simply clicking here with your mouse on the S on the track, or using the S on your computer keyboard by selecting a track, click S to solo that and add more tracks to solo like this, and you can unsolo them by simply selecting the track again and pressing S on your computer keyboard. But you might not know that you can toggle between these solo tracks and not having any tracks soloed with this button up here. So you can go from listening to these in solo and press this, which unsolos them again, and you can press it again to toggle back to the soloed buttons. Now if you make any change like so, now this is the toggle state, so when you use this, that is the track you solo and unsolo. Tip 2. Solo or mute regions. So instead of soloing or muting entire tracks, and by the way, you mute the tracks with the M button here, and you can add more tracks to mute like so. But for regions, you use the Control S or Control M to solo or mute them. So you can, for example, select this region. If I press Control S, it will solo that region. If you want to add more regions to this soloed part, you can simply hold down Shift and apply it to some other tracks like so. And you can do this with Control M for muting parts, such as you want to mute this one, select more like so. And this takes us to tip number 3, which is to select all muted regions. So let's say you want to unmute all of these regions. Instead of clicking on them and then clicking Control M on this one, Control M on this one, and so on, you can instead, let's say you have multiple regions selected like so, simply hold down Shift and then press M. And now all muted regions are selected, and then you can use Control M to unmute them all. Tip 4. Solo region toggle. So you already learned that you can simply select a region and use Control S to solo it like this. But you can also simply, while it's playing, select another track and it will solo that track. And use Shift to select 2 tracks. And the best part is that you can now, when you listen to these tracks in solo, use Control S to toggle to nothing solo and back to the solo parts. Like so. Tip 5. Unmute all tracks. So let's say you have muted lots of tracks like this one by selecting it, pressing M, and that one too, and that one too, and that one too, and many tracks like this. Instead of having to go through them all by clicking them and selecting M to unmute it, you can use the key command Control Shift M, and look what happens. Every track that was previously muted is now unmuted. Tip 6. Solo lock mode. So you remember that you can select a part here, a region, and use Control S to solo that part, and add parts in the solo here with the Shift button, and then use Control S to toggle between the soloed parts and having nothing soloed. But let's say you want to listen to these parts, Control solo them, like so, and then you want to go into the piano roll editor for this one. Well, now all are selected, so if I press E to bring up the piano roll editor, I will of course see everyone. If I only want to see, for example, this part here to edit in the piano roll editor, I need to somehow lock these soloed regions so that they only play, but only select this one. Enter solo lock mode. Use Alt S or go up here and select the solo button and use the solo lock. By the way, you can add this in the customized control bar here. So now if I press Alt or Option S, look what happens with this solo button here. It is solo lock activated. Now I can click anywhere. I can click on any region. It doesn't matter. These are locked in solo. So I can go into this region now and make the changes I want without having to see all the other MIDI notes. Tip 7. solo safe mode. So this is an advanced feature that I personally like using, for example, on a master kind of track that I always want to listen to, even if I solo other tracks. Let's say you have your chord progression on strings or piano. Well, you access it by holding down the control button on your keyboard while you press the solo button here. And notice this little red line here. Now, even if I solo, let's say, the rhythm here, this will always be heard. So I can solo that one, I can solo this one. This will always be heard. Even if I use this button to unsolo all, it doesn't really matter. So you can add tracks here, as many as you want, and listen to them, toggle back and forth, but this is in solo safe mode, so it doesn't change. And of course, to remove the solo safe when you are done, you can simply control left click on the S again. Now here's my bonus tip for you, and that is that you can actually mute individual notes in the piano roll editor. Simply select the note you want to mute and then use Ctrl M to mute that note. Select another one and mute that. Select several notes at the same time, like so, Ctrl M, and all those are muted. And then you can go through your performance and mute lots of notes, like so. Now if you want to go back, you first need to select all muted events here. So for that you use Shift M, and look what happens. All the muted notes are selected. And now you can use Ctrl M to unmute them again. Check out my complete video series on Logic Pro X tutorials and tips here on my channel. Learn and master Logic Pro X to boost your music composition and production workflow.